everybody, Tom Vasel here, and welcome to the last top 10 of 2016. But I saved a list here that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the top 10 games for kids. Now, if you're an American and you go to the toy store, or you go to Walmart or whatever, and you look at the toy shelves, there is a lot of really junky games for kids. But a wonderful amount of games have come out. Some of these you can find at Target. Many of them you can find online. Some are actually from overseas, and we may have to wait a bit for them to get here. But there were some wonderful, marvelous games that came out for kids. So here we go. Best 10 games from 2016 for kids. Number 10 is Spaghetti. This is from Grana Games, and this is a game that actually works well with everyone. It's a dexterity game where you are basically pulling spaghetti noodles out of a pile of spaghetti. They're like shoelaces, essentially, and they're different lengths, and some of them are harder to pull than others, which give you more points. There's some ping pong ball type meatballs there that you don't want to fall on the table, and the whole thing is a silly, fun thing. All kids like spaghetti, or at least like to play with spaghetti, and so I think this theme really does well in that regard. Number 9 is Super Vampire. Doesn't sound like it's a game for kids, but it is. In this game, there's a structure, and on the top of the structure are different pathways, and you have a vampire finger. It's like a little rubber finger you put on yours, and you're pushing little vampire discs as fast as you can on top of this structure, trying to go around and collect cloves of garlic. I'm actually not sure why you're doing that, but it's really fun because you have to push, and the rubber finger kind of deadens your senses to some degree, so you can't like just use nice sense of touch. It's really neat. There's different kinds of rafters and scaffolding up there, and there's a timer too, so the whole thing is really fun for children. That's Super Vampire from Queen Games. Number 8 is Rabbit Rally, the first game on this list from Haba. Haba makes a lot of great kids games. In Rabbit Rally, you are trying to get the golden carrot. You are doing that by moving your rabbits from spot to spot, and you have bridges that are certain lengths, and so kids have to kind of guesstimate how far a bridge will reach to put the next one out. So it's a little bit of push your luck, but it teaches that whole kind of guesstimating distances, and also has some really marvelous pieces, Rabbit Rally. Number 7 is Mino and Tari. This is about two aliens who land in a cornfield. But what this game does is it teaches cooperative working together for kids and communication. There are two aliens that are magnets, and they stick on two sides of a board. And each player is moving their alien through a maze, but many times they're going to be blocked. And the only way to move through a cornfield is for your opponent to move it on their side. So you're like, I need to go left. Okay, all right, I can move it up. Okay, now we can move it left. And so you're working back and forth. It's a cool little gimmick that really works well with kids. Number 6 is Logic Labyrinth. This is another game from Haba in which you are taking some cards and putting them together. And the cards only fit together in a certain way, and so the kids will get a pattern. This is how the cards have to fit together, and they are putting together, there's like a Tales of Arabian Nights kind of background to putting these cards together. But the cards, you really have to think a little bit. It's almost like having a puzzle each time, and I really like that. I really like that thinking that it produces in kids. Number 5 is Spooky Castle. This is another cooperative game that promotes, again, communication. One child's going to be blindfolded, and they have a magic wand with a magnet, and they have to move that magic wand to go find treasures, but avoiding ghosts that are in the castle. And all the rest of the kids are giving them instructions. So they're behind this mask where they can't see and listening, and that magnet's powerful, so if it gets close to a ghost, that ghost is going to snap to it, and the kids are like, go left, no, wait, go forward. Really fun, strong cooperative game. Number 4 is My First Stone Age. Now, Stone Age is a game that you can see right over here on my own shelf. It's a great game about collecting resources and building huts and things, and this is very similar, except this one has a smidge of memory in it, but it teaches kids to gather resources, and then those resources, you turn those resources into huts that will help them win the game. Really good components, really kind of a thinking process to do this. I must do this. A lot of fun. My First Stone Age. Number 3 is Top That, which sounds like Top Hat because it is. It's a game that comes with a hat piece, a rabbit piece, and a couple other pieces, and each turn you'll flip it over, and it will say, these pieces need to be visible, these pieces need to be hidden, these pieces aren't even in there, and you have to say, okay, so that one needs to be hidden, so the rabbit goes inside the hat this time, but the barrel's not here, and so you have to quick think, what combination of pieces and how I stack them is going to meet the requirements of this card. So there's a bit of a speed element, they're pretty good sturdy components, but also thinking here, how am I going to solve this conundrum? It's not a difficult thing, it's simple, but it's a really excellent game for kids. Number 2 is Ticket to Ride First Journey. Ticket to Ride is a game that I think is fantastic. Again, it's one that's in my collection. I really like the Ticket to Ride series. This Ticket to Ride First Journey is a version of that is deliberately made for kids as they are playing cards, connecting routes across America, and trying to finish a ticket. I need to connect this city to this city, so they need to plan. How am I going to connect those? And I need to connect this city to that city, so maybe I need to go through that. And that's some combination planning. Again, it's a good skill for kids to have and say, how am I going to combine doing a bunch of tasks into a continuous, simple task? And also great components, easy to play, really works well for young children. That's Ticket to Ride First Journey. And then number 1 for me this year for kids games is Brain Freeze. This is a 2-player game. Think of it almost as a cross of Battleship and then just Logic, as you will be picking a square on your board. Your opponent's trying to figure out which square you picked. They will ask, is it this square? You will say yes or no, but yes means one of the characteristics of that square matches your square. No means none of them do. It's not in the same column, not in the same row, not the same object. And so the kids will sit there and say, you said no, so it can't be anything in that row, can't be anything in that column, can't be any of that object in the board. Okay, now how am I going to narrow this down? Really good. I'm a big fan of teaching logic to kids. So my favorite game that came out this year for them is Brain Freeze. So those are my top 10 games for kids this year. Certainly check them out. What are your favorite kids games of 2016? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's move on to 2017.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.